Welcome in, gang. Coach. Super pumped to have you. So we're going to speed run because we got some really heavy stuff. First, if you missed it, they did the Brady Bowl a little bit ago with the Buccaneers versus the Patriots. Brady said don't ask him who he's rooting for. Coach realized that Donald Sterling's scandal broke right when Donald Trump's campaign began, before he won president the first time in 2016. Sterling got in trouble in 2014, which, with the way midterms work, etc., that would have been right when the presidential campaign would have began. So they had their Donald and Donald thing. Coach says that Sydney Sweeney is Billie Eilish, and they don't even really try to hide it at all. This dude wrote way too much, but he's obviously very mad at L. Ron Hubbard. This is on the Gay Matria channel. So basically he said he pays $5 a month, which was the most he could pay at the time. For some reason, he won't cancel it even though he doesn't get any value out of it. He just complains that Zach never makes picks. He basically says both sides are going to win, and then after one of them wins, he says, he told you so. That's fucking hilarious. I had no idea. Trevor had kind of told me that, but it didn't really click to me exactly how bad it was till I read this guy's big, long fucking pissed off novel. Right, especially now that he's so basically, Hubbard's now charging $20 a month. $20 a month. You could put in 40 picks, with Coach's method, and Coach doesn't ask you for anything, right? You got 40 picks at $1,000,000 to 1. You at least have some hope. You got some value. You probably won't get anything, right? But all you gotta do is get right one time, and you don't have to throw Coach a bone or nothing. Right, this dude wants $20 a month just to listen to him fucking babble. That's fucking garbage. Punch a fucking calculator, whatever. Tank Girl. I'm sorry, Coach. Coach laughed a little too hard. Got caught in a start. Tank Girl. Coach says that's gotta be Gwen Stefani, right? In a lot of pictures, it doesn't look like her, but that's how it always is. But that's Gwen there, right? Coach just says for sure. Dable. So Coach predicted this, if you'll remember, because Coach realized, we got to have a precedent for our two-time Coach of the Year, Kevin Stefanski, getting fired, so this guy's got to go. And the Giants suck. And Coach was watching a game where he had Dart out there. Coach actually watched the Giants a few times this season, I guess, because, one, Coach is an Eagles fan, deep down. So, I always, weirdly respect the Giants because they reeled off a couple Super Bowls I didn't expect in my lifetime, and they've almost never been completely terrible apart from recently, past 10 years or so. But Coach also lives in Redskins country, so we get a lot of Giants games. So I've actually seen them probably more than any team this year, weirdly. Maybe not more than the Browns. So it'd be the Browns then the Giants, I would say. And then just kind of randomly whoever's on. But Coach actually caught a lot of the Giant saga, and he couldn't believe at first that they had Russell out there. First of all, very interesting, he's got Jameis Winston on the bench, right? That's a connection for us with Stefanski. Why won't this guy play Jameis Winston? He keeps playing freaking Russell. Russell's horrible. Jameis isn't great, but he's at least a wild card. He's not just definitively bad. He's just, you can't rely on him for a long stretch, but he's perfect backup. He might win you a game, right? And it's literally flipping a coin. He's probably exactly a 500 quarterback, maybe a little worse, right? But close enough that you roll with him over Russell, who's just, he literally does things that Coach cannot accept. I know it's not real football, okay? But Coach could never accept in sports playing alongside of somebody who doesn't give it a chance. That's Coach's flaw. You got to give your teammates a chance to make plays, and you got to give your shots a chance to go in. So whenever I would play with a fucking meathead in soccer who every single fucking time they got the ball, they kicked it as hard as they fucking could, even though every single time it went over the fucking bar by a mile. Okay? Right? When that guy just can't figure it out, I don't care how far you can throw it, how hard you can kick it, Coach would have fucking benched him. But in Coach's moron clown world, that guy gets to be the fucking captain of like every team because he's just the biggest and the strongest and the fastest, right? It doesn't matter that he's effectively worthless. He can't do anything to contribute to a winning culture, right? He's a combine workout warrior, right? Now, same thing in fucking basketball when you got a dude that's just too fucking weak or whatever to get the ball to the fucking rim every single time it's fucking short. You're not going to fucking play that guy, right? So, like, you know, you got to find the Goldilocks zone, right? So, Coach says Russell is more he's like a combination of both. Because what he does is he's always playing not to lose. But he plays that way even in situations where they've already lost. So it could be 4th in a fucking mile with 1 second left in the 4th quarter. And they're down 4. He's going to heave the ball 20 yards out of the back of the end zone. It's not because he's too strong. It's because he doesn't want to throw an interception. Right? He's just a fucking jackass. So that's Coach's long-winded rant about Russell Wilson and the Giants. But basically, yeah, we need this fucking asshole to get fired. He did get fired. And it's like right when we thought Kevin would get fired. So Coach wants to get into that. What exactly he thinks is going down. So we know that DePodesta left for the Rockies. Okay? And we know... Oh, isn't that interesting? I just made that connection. Colorado, like where Shador played. And where Dion's coaching. So that makes sense with the Colorado thing. We also think they're playing Denver. In Denver. Oh, there's going to be a lot of Shador fans at that game. That's something. I didn't think about that. Huh. That's real cool. All right. Sorry. Let's get back on track if I can. That was really something. Oh yeah, so DePodesta left. So that leaves a big hole, right? So basically even the guy above Andrew Barry's now gone. Right? Nobody's safe in the building. I'm worried they're gonna fire Schwartz. I really don't want them to fire Schwartz. That seems idiotic. I think maybe Schwartz Coach could deal with that. Schwartz is like an interim head coach. That's the only... So here's what's going on. This is why Coach thinks he can read the Browns better than anybody. Because people are always looking at basically any team that it is. You know, like basically like they're the same. Like, what would I do to try to win? The Browns are not looking to win. They're going to win, but the owner, that's not the concern. He's just an egomaniac, right? Think Trump or something. Right, I guess would be the best comparison. So he's just an egomaniac. So he's not thinking, what can I do to make this team win? The same thing he did with drafting Shador, right? If Shador was drafted to win games, he'd be playing. He was drafted to have a big circus, right? Well, who would bring a bigger circus to town than Belichick? Right? So he can't just fire Stefanski and be with nobody right when DePodesta leaves town, unless maybe he rolls with Schwartz for a minute. It's the only other way. You got to have like some stability, right? He's not just going to have some random, offensive coordinator or something or nobody, right? So he's not exactly worried about winning games, but he is very worried about looking stupid. Or at least, even worse than looking stupid, think Jerry Jones, would be being completely ignored. If the Browns are going to go down, he wants them to go up in flames, right? Like, he doesn't just want you to not talk about this boring team. Of course Shador's going to be out there. Of course they're going to get a more exciting coach. That's Coach's take there, right? So we'll move on. You basically get it. So looking at the Jim Brown show, he had some interesting stats. How unlikely was Jets 27, Browns 20? So that's funny because Coach told you the Jets would beat the Browns. Since 1950, teams had been 225-0. Keep in mind, it's the year 2025. Teams have been 225-0 when holding opponents to 175 or fewer yards and not turning the ball over. The Browns were the first team to lose in that span because they're playing not to lose. They're not playing to win. You can't win like that. Like Brady played a really safe, conservative brand of football, but it was aggressive enough to kill you. Just real, he's going to bleed you dry real slow, and he's got to get it right 90% of the time. You know, he's not leaving himself a lot of wiggle room for error, you know, on like a given drive. You know, he's got to always pull his weight, and he always delivered, pretty much, right? But the other one we got is 42 net passing yards, and went over Browns were fewest in a Jets victory in 52 years. Well, you know, 52, the flip of 2025. So thought that was very interesting. Coach needs your help trying to decipher this fucking puzzle. We got the Oklahoma City Thunder winning the finals. Well, if you'll flash back, remember when the Hornets were in Oklahoma? What's going on with Charlotte? What's going on with New Orleans? New Orleans hosted the Super Bowl. Okay? Anthony Davis shows up to camp for the Mavericks, former Pelican star, overweight after they trade Doncic for being fat. What's going on there? Is Zion Williams finally going to show us something? I don't trust Zion to win a championship, even if healthy, not even close. Right? So it seems tough to think it's the Pelicans. We definitely don't think it's the Saints. Is there anybody else in New Orleans that could be winning something? Did anybody else win something Coach missed? Maybe a WNBA team Coach isn't thinking of? Right? Coach thinks for sure New Orleans might be hot. And then Charlotte. We think Jimmy Johnson's getting hurt at that Charlotte track. And the Hornets, that's kind of like a Yellow Jacket. Yellow Jackets just won the Super Bowl. Georgia Tech very well could be winning the championship, even though Coach hopes it's SMU. You know, there's just a lot. Not entirely sure what to make. I was thinking it may be MLS for Charlotte, but they just went out. So what's not them? Charlotte Flair is red hot. Okay, what was it? Won the 2025 Royal Rumble. That's not nothing. Okay, also Slammy for Match of the Year last year. Right? I don't even know if that was women's match or just match. Probably women's. Right, but either way. So she's old Charlotte still crushing it. What are we looking at here? Is this the Thunder? So I guess we're just looking at the Pelicans dead last, Mavericks right ahead of them. So at the top, the Thunder 10-1. Here's a very interesting thought about the Thunder. The Seattle Supersonics were the first team to ever lose the first round of the playoffs as a number one seed. So could the Thunder repeat the regular season dominance again and then completely fall apart in the first round? It's a possibility. And that would leave room for the Lakers, who are playing well. You know, it's way too early to count anybody in or out, of course. Right? But we like to have an early season look. This is a very nice snapshot. Coach kind of teased this in the last video that we were going to go over this article. But somebody wrote an article on the Mustangs. It was like an on-campus article, I think. And it was 4 weeks into the season. And the Mustangs were 2-2. Right, so nice screenshot into the entire ACC. This is a really, really well done article. Really good screenshot into the ACC just a couple short months ago. You know, what are they? What's the records now? NCAA football. Standings. So we're like, yeah. So most teams have played like 9-10 games. Okay? So this is like a month ago. like a month and a half ago. Right, so like a month and a half ago, this is what they were saying. Hopes for a playoff return have dissipated. Yeah, because SMU won the ACC last year but lost the ACC championship. Still got an at-large bid. And then lost to Clemson? I can't remember who. They lost in the playoffs. I'm pretty sure they made it. But anyway. They were getting crushed on penalties and passing yards. Absolutely getting their doors blown off. Okay? But Coach will spoil one thing for you. What they do now is they are number one in the nation in takeaways. They are forcing turnovers higher than anybody else. And they, like, remember how I said, like, they're kind of dogs and stuff? It's not necessarily that they're just going to, like, blow your shit up. Like, it's not like they're, at least from what Coach is saying, it's not they're just going out gambling and ripping every ball loose. But the second you make a mistake, I promise you, at any level of football, I've never seen a player dive on a ball faster than when I saw BC fumble a snap. Like, of course, BC's terrible. Their line's probably not great. But, I mean, the dude was, like, the quarterback dropped the snap, went to fall on it, and this was from the shotgun. And the defender was already on top of it. I mean, it was like that. You snap your fingers. And, like, it's like he knew it was going to happen because he probably did. Right? But, basically, that's they. You know how you see, like, teams all the time, even in the NFL, like, especially in the NFL? Someone this last week on the Steelers, Joey Porter Jr. Joey Porter Jr. drops like an easy interception. They just don't drop those easy plays. They don't do anything special. They just don't fuck up the way you see other teams inexplicably fuck up all the time. So as long as they keep that going, they should be able to beat anybody because you can't turn the ball over and beat good teams, and we're at least good. So, we had rocky start, 2-2, right? But since then, we've only lost one. And it was the only conference game, right? But look at what they were saying at the time. Championship contenders. This is 4 games into the season. Georgia Tech, 2-0 in ACC. That still looks good. Virginia, 2-0. That still looks good. Louisville, 1-0. That don't look good. That's who we play this week, right? They just lost last week. They're looking like their season's over for sure. Miami, we just basically knocked them out of postseason contention, right? Florida State, who? Right? Nobody's talking about them. So, out of the championship contenders, we're up so Coach told you in reality right now it's Georgia Tech, UVA, Pitt, and SMU. Right? So, and of those, of the original championship contenders, only 2 remain. Georgia Tech and UVA. UVA coming off a loss to Wake Forest. Right? They had Pittsburgh. Look, they're saying Miami and Louisville are undoubtedly the hardest opponents left on SMU's calendar. What do you know? We beat Miami, right? And Louisville doesn't look that good. They had Duke as a formidable opponent. Coach said that Duke was one of the better teams in the ACC. Apparently, they weren't quite that highly ranked, but not bad. And then Clemson, like in there, right? But let's see, hold on. Unlikely contender, Pitt. Right, so nobody's banking on Pitt beating 3 ranked teams to finish the season. Right, that would be crazy. And we know them or Georgia Tech are already guaranteed a loss. We already talked about that. North Carolina, unlikely contender. They might get a bowl, but they're done. Right, so the ACC is wide open. And then, so at the time it was like plus 1,400, 6th best. That's probably what you want, right? Sounds about right. And even at the time, they were top 10 nationally in takeaways per game. The Mustangs can afford to lose at most 1 more game, making a win over Clemson and an upset against Miami or Louisville a necessity. They already did that, but they have to beat Louisville too because they already lost that 1 game. Right, so we're in good shape. Just thought it was interesting, Red Sox or whatever, Kevin Millar talking about drinking. Right, so Miller and alcohol. Jay Crawford, SportsCenter personality, is from Ohio. He does the Browns preseason games. Just nice we have a Crawford at the same time. Terrence Crawford is a champion. Also, he's from Omaha, Nebraska. Terrence is, so might be something else going on with Nebraska. But let's see. Oh, yeah, Bottlegate. So Coach thought it was interesting. Cleveland's Bottlegate occurred against New Orleans. Of course, New Orleans just hosted the Super Bowl. We think the Browns are going to the Super Bowl and getting shut out. But Bottlegate, specifically the quarterback for the coach for New Orleans was Jim Haslett. We've got Jim Haslam as the Browns GM, so Coach thought that was odd. And then they said yellow-jacketed security guards. Coach thought it was like the yellow jacket. Here we're getting to the real shit. All right, so Emmanuel Clase got indicted. Coach says he's going to probably do like real time. It seems that it was some big conspiracy. He was telling, some group exactly what balls to bet on and what strikes, etc., right, for a specific pitch. And Coach is like kind of sick about this, right? So we've been hot on the Guardians. Coach was already mad at himself for not seeing that the name Guardians was a curse. It was one of those things he knew deep down, but looking back, Coach says you have to be able to forgive him easily. Like when you know what Coach has told you this whole time, that his bias is against like the very, very top. And I specifically told you the Dodgers were the new Yankees, right? As long as it's the Dodgers winning, Coach he didn't have anything to give you, right? Like it was, I got paid on the Dodgers. I took the Dodgers, but they were the number one seed. They weren't paying anything. Coach didn't want it to be the Dodgers. I think deep down I always knew it was going to be something like this, but it's just such a horrible outcome, right? That who the fuck cares? And Coach is paying this. Like Coach never liked Babe Ruth, so why do I want to see the second Babe Ruth with Shohei? Right? Like it's just not my thing. So Coach just wanted it to be more exciting so badly that I think Coach was blind to what was obvious to him the whole time, which was they're not going to win as the Guardians. They have to be the Indians. So that's number one. They have to be the Indians. But Coach also has to talk. So this gave him like some horrible, like, remember in Breaking Bad when like Hank's in the bathroom and he sees the book from Whitman or whatever, right, that Gail gave him, and he like starts to put everything together. Coach had one of those moments when he saw this article and he realized, oh, this motherfucker threw the ALCS. Now we know there wasn't really a fair contest to be thrown, but Coach is telling you that they're going to tell you that this fucker is the reason the Guardians didn't make the World Series a couple years ago against the Yankees. Not like the Yankees went on to win, right? The Dodgers smoked them. It wasn't even a good series. The Guardians were the better team. Coach was right about that. But that, in our world, this was like the worst I could have missed. Like, this is sickening. We were looking for exactly this. It was right under my nose. Like, this guy was on my bulletin board. You know what I'm saying? Luis Ortiz, we had Luis Ortiz going against Tyson coming up. Right? These were guys we had talked about over and over again. We basically thought he was going to be Mariano Rivera against the Yankees. Right? Finally give him a dose of their own medicine. And he literally comes out and has, like, the historically worst performances ever after being unhittable all season. Gave up 2 home runs in one game. And maybe old Bieber's in on it too, Cat. That was a really suspicious way to go out. You know what I mean? He literally gave up the home run. I wouldn't want anything to do with anybody from, like, it's bad enough they had Clase, but it was Clase and Ortiz. When there's 2, there's probably more. I mean, look at the Black Sox. It was like the whole team. So Coach says this is like devastating, right? That I didn't see this coming. For the simple fact, this is exactly what I want to see coming. We were looking for maybe Indiana stealing a national title or something like that. But, like, right under my nose, I watched a player throw a game that didn't make any sense to me. And the only reason I was able to pass it off was like, well, Pedro, before he got over on the Yankees, right? And then the next season comes, this fucker's not even on the team to show him up. Oh, man. You know, it's just, I just can't believe I missed it. But anyway, Coach does have some good news coming up. First, we're going to make it a little bit lighter with Jason Kelsey insulting Canada. So he said something about the Blue Jays. This is who the Guardians need. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I did not know, before I looked it up, I'm sure we've gone over it, right? But, like, from memory, Coach didn't know what position this guy played. He didn't know what team he played for. He just said, like, remember when Charlie Sheen met Charlie Sheen? I literally had to go to Charlie Sheen first. Was like, what's your real fucking name? Carlos Estevez. Carlos Estevez, MLB. Here we go. What do you know? Fucking, where is it? Hold on. Led the MLB in saves last year. This is the perfect guy to replace Clase. No brainer. No brainer. This is Wild Thing. It's not fucking Fireman. It's this motherfucker. Okay? Literally. I don't know how I didn't see that sooner, but this is who we need, and we need to be the Indians. Okay? He was just an all-star last year. So, and, you know, when he met Charlie Sheen was in 2016 when the Indians were in the World Series. So that, he's the answer there. And then we got a huge piece of good news here. Stafford reached 500 career win percentage for the first time in his career. You think that's finally enough to break the Bobby Lane curse, right? We did right by him. He got a Super Bowl, and he's a winning QB now. Right? First time since 1950. 231, you flip it around, it's 1, 2, 3.